Hello, welcome to Seagulls Social, Season 3, Episode 5. It is the day after Fulham, a very frustrating game. I saw Ryan and Jack both there. They'll probably share my emotions, hopefully, this episode. Of course, for the first time this season, it's taken a bloody long time, but Jack Albion is on the podcast. Jack, how are you?
I'm good. This is second time, because I was after the USG game.
This is like official Season 3.
Yeah, not pre-season.
Yeah.
So, no, but I got my word in last night with Ben. Yeah. I was like, get me on tomorrow.
It's because he was wearing a suit, and I was like, "Oh, I got to take this guy seriously." He was wearing a shirt and trousers. He looked the part.
Straight from work.
Yeah. Lots of people are asking me like, "Why are you in a shirt and tie?" I was like, "Well, because I have a job, I have a life."
Do you drive Brighton Hove buses?
Yeah, I know. I did look like a bus driver, to be fair.
Yeah, it did look a bit of a bus driver.
And then Ryan, of course, we were joined by you. I saw you and Chloe yesterday. How did you enjoy the trip to Craven Cottage?
Yeah, it's right, mate. Quite easy, isn't it? Really, to be fair, central London. Yeah, just straight up, straight down. Quite an easy journey, to be fair, because we're used to travelling 3.5 hours just to meet each other in our houses. So yeah, it's not too bad. But yeah, game itself wise, it wasn't fantastic, was it? The one point I will make, just because I don't want to get on the negativity hype train that seems to be on social media at the minute, is I want to just put a positive out there and say Alexis McAllister was our most fantastic player yesterday. He was brilliant. He was really good. And I think that it's been a bit of a theme of the season so far, McAllister, in that deeper role. He looks so impressive. To be fair, my dad, he did say in pre-season, he was like, watch McAllister this year. He said he's going to be the Basuma replacement. I was like, I don't know if I could trust him.
Is that such a mad shout? If you told me that when Basuma was getting linked away and you were going to say McAllister's going to take over,
my dad, to be fair, he called it.
I'd be like, why the hell would our number 10 Alexis McAllister, Argentinian boy, suddenly do a deeper role like that? But he's taken to it. And he was on a pitch where there weren't many positives for Brighton. He was kind of one of very, very few. I don't want to name and shame, but I'm going to probably do that. Unfortunately, Pervis Estepinian did not impress me at all yesterday. Nor did Enoch Nwepu. My friend Jamie said it quite funny. It was like Enoch Nwepu, when he has a touch, he has to run 5k to get the ball afterwards. He's either really, really good, Enoch Nwepu, or the complete opposite and really, really bad. There's no in between with him, and it's quite frustrating to watch, because obviously we really want him to do well, because we need him to do well, especially when Potter seems to play him up front as like a lone striker or whatever.
Yeah,
that's another conversation, not even playing a striker. And maybe Jack, you can answer that. Potter's kind of put his hands up, saying like it's probably his mistake, because he said in his post-match about Welbeck not playing.
I respect that, I respect
it. But he did get it super wrong. Like what? Unless it's like here, Tony, look, we've only got Undav and Welbeck. I need to rest Welbeck because of managing his minutes. So we had to play 60 minutes without a strike or whatever. Do you think that's what he was doing, or do you think it was actually just a tactical thing, Jack?
I think it was just a tactical thing. I think I put on something. It was a bit odd that we brought Undav over here and we're not starting him when Welbeck isn't fit, because surely that is the point of him being in the squad. But also at the same time, we've played false nine before and it's worked really well. You think Liverpool away did really well. I can't think of another game where we have, but we have done it.
He did that. Trossard, he had a spell of being really good as a false nine.
Yeah, and it has worked before. Definitely, maybe that was the idea, sort of pack the midfield. But to be honest, it just didn't really work out, and it is what it is. I don't know. There's not too much to look into the way that Potter's set up. He's tried something and it hasn't worked. We haven't had that for a while with Potter.
But I just think he took too long to finally make the change, because it went on for a long time of us being really poor. Yeah, go on, Ryan,
I did think maybe. I think nobody agreed with me when I said this in the ground, but I'll happily say it again. I thought first half we did grow into it a bit, and towards the end of the first half we did look like we were maybe getting to grip.
Yeah.
But there were so many times where the ball would go into the box, and you think, well, if there was a striker there, we'd be able to
Danny Welbeck was on the pitch. I'll be right.
I didn't really know who was playing that false nine role. It did seem to switch between Nwepu, Trossard, and Gross
as well. Key one. Yeah, it was a strange one. I don't know, because Nwepu, as we say, he can be really, really good, and we've seen his best days by far, and particularly Arsenal away last season was probably the pick out. But I don't know. It just, you're right in saying Potter did get it wrong yesterday. And I don't like saying that because I just feel like you're going against everything, 10 games unbeaten and everything. It's our first loss in 10, shall I say. We're far away from being in a bad situation at the minute. And we are in a midweek game on the back of a tough weekend against Leeds, who did push us. Not going to be talking about the square ball right now. But then we play another game midweek and then we've got another game against Leicester. I can see where the sort of... I don't want to sound like Jurgen Klopp right now and be like, players are tired, and I'm not trying to sound like that, but I think I can give it a little bit more leeway. It's only August. We're a long way into there's a long way of the season to go, should I say. I don't know. It just didn't really seem to work. Trossard was by far our best attacker yesterday, and he didn't even do a lot. I think the best sort of chances came when Lamptey came on. But even that, there was no real cutting edge yesterday. I don't know what it was. There was no intensity, really. No. We were very, very, very sloppy at the back. And I've seen that Duncan goal back this morning. I've seen a lot of Palace fans taking the mick. To be fair, they have the right to do so because it was awful defending. And from obviously where you're sitting, you don't really... if you were at Fulham away, you can't really see the other end of the pitch that well.
Too well, yeah.
And I didn't really see what had happened. But then when you watch it back, it was calamitous defending. Honestly, they just had us on absolute strings, really.
And also credit, I guess,
his own goal.
Credit to Fulham because I was actually impressed with them. I don't think I underestimated them because we said in the match preview that they were going to be one of our toughest tests yet, and they were, and they proved us right. I mean, we said that Mitrovic was going to be trouble.
Mate, we could not live with him.
And he bullied us.
We could not live with him.
But even the whole team, that Fulham team, they were so well drilled. Like, credit to it is Marco Silva. Credit to Marco Silva, because even Maz slated him, which would have been funny to have him on today, because Maz was saying he's a washed-up manager or whatever. But yeah, credit to him. They were very, very good. And they defended really well. Tim Bream, who the hell is he? Some Yank centre-back, was just unreal. I know they've had him for a few years now, but he was really, really good, and they locked us up, even though obviously we didn't have a striker, but they just were well drilled and hounded us well. So yeah, credit to them.
I want to give a shout out to Anders Pereira. I thought he was fantastic.
Yeah, you can tell when you come from Man United, can't you? Or a team
and I was like, who's this kid with the blonde hair? I said to my mate, and he went, Anders Pereira, and I was like, what, the bloke who used to get slated by Man United fans for being terrible? I thought he was really good.
He used
really
to be a pre-season merchant for Man United. Apparently, he was really good in pre-season, and
then would score one banger a season. And then, but no, I think he did really well. Yeah. I just think they look like I think a lot of our fans maybe went into this game thinking this was the Fulham of old, like the ones which go up and down. This is a much more well-drilled, better equipped. They actually work as a team, and they haven't thrown money at it, which is probably the better for them. They've made smart signings, although they're throwing some money at some weird signings as the window's closing. But I'm not really sure about
Willian. With Justin Kluivert, but I think Willian's going to be joining.
Yeah, Willian. I think that's a bit of a
weird
one. Famous strange. Last words on that, but I think they're a lot more well drilled, and I think maybe the team underestimated them. I don't know, but it seems like there's a lot of underestimating of the standard of Fulham, which is clearly a lot better. And
I'll tell you what really...
sorry.
I was going to say what really impressed me about Fulham particularly was, we can say Mitrovic bullied us, but not only did he bully us in the classic Mitrovic way, but he also drops back, holds the ball now,
does a lot Harry Kane, wasn't he? It's like a Serbian Harry Kane.
He came quite deep yesterday, and we just couldn't live with him. And I think a Mitrovic that of old is hard to live with in itself, because he's a big, bullied centre forward that's going to cause you problems, will win stuff in the air, get flick-ons. But he wasn't just getting flick-ons. And I think I saw an interview with him a couple of weeks ago with Tubes, and Tubes asked him, how's Marco Silva compared to Scott Parker? And he just said, he's allowed me to actually play football now. And I was just a bit like, let's see how it goes. 5-5, he honestly just... I don't know what it was. Lewis Dunk did not look like Lewis Dunk yesterday. I think I can really speak for the whole defence. Webster was giving the ball away left, right and centre.
And
Mwepu
passes everywhere, weren't there?
Yeah, Mwepu, as we've already mentioned. The only one, as I say, stood out was Alexis, and I think he was probably the one good player, if not maybe Tarek. I think it's fair to say Tarek was good when he came on. Matoma was quite good. Yeah, Matoma. So those three probably the standouts, but other than that, really was very poor. And Mitrovic took full advantage, and Pereira and Co did too. It was just one of those days, I think.
I want to talk about Pervis Stepinian, because obviously it was like his kind of his third game on it. He obviously had a decent. I thought he had a really good home debut against Leeds on Saturday. And I thought, cool, he's going to kick on now. In the last episode, I spoke about me being an FPL curse to Brighton players. And I wasn't going to put Pascal Gross in the team. I didn't do that, but I did put Pervis Estepinian in my team. And then he goes and kind of... I don't think it wasn't the worst performance I've ever seen, but I was really hoping that he was going to kick on. I was really, really hoping he was going to kick on. And yeah, he just really struggled against that. Robinson, the left back, was really good. Yeah. They had Bobby Decordova-Reid, that was pretty good, obviously on his side. And yeah, he really did not have a good game. And I'm really worried that might get the better of him, and it might not be a successful. Yeah, it's obviously very early to say, but he just didn't look good, and I hope it doesn't knock his confidence and carry on that.
He'll learn a lot from last night. There was a lot of I think it was a lot of the mistakes he made were naive. I wouldn't say they were poor. They were just sort of, for the second goal being the main one, him diving in on the edge of the box when there's no one in behind him. That's where and getting depossessed. That's where the problems will arise. And it may be in the Spanish league, he can come back and he can track back, and it's not quite like that.
Yeah.
But he needs to learn from that. But I think he will. He looks good in flashes. And even last night, I didn't think he was terrible.
I think it's what I mentioned with that debate with Ben literally a couple of days ago was, he gave the ball away a bit, try and do too much at times in his home debut, almost assisted a goal as well against Leeds. And there was I think, as I said, it was the right time to bring him off against Leeds. That last 15 minutes, if he did give away a goal, that would have been detrimental to his confidence. Now I think almost he's come off, he's had a rough last sort of 5 minutes against Leeds, come into this Fulham game, and they slipped
over in the first 5 minutes.
Slipped over straight away, yeah. I think he had a couple of bad touches. When you just sort of start a game and you think, oh god, okay, and then it's in your head. You know, you're the last 5 minutes
when Fulham were attacking him, and he was kind of just looking around like Jesus Christ, having those I said that Robertson and Reid running at him constantly. He did look a bit out of his depth at one point. I think he did get the better of him.
Not to do a tie from Arsenal Fan TV and blame a really weird thing. But a lot of our players were slipping over last night. I did notice.
Yeah, they were.
So I don't know whether they
look quite slippy.
I don't know whether they watered the grass a lot or something. Because a lot of our players were just kept on falling over. So it's really weird. It reminded me of. I know this is going to sound like the weirdest excuse possible. So like I said the other day, I do believe everything I say on this podcast. It's sort of.
We do it for clicks, though, Jack.
Yeah. It sort of looked like when I watch a non-league team playing 3G. You don't usually play in 3G.
Yeah.
And it's sort of we just we didn't really play at our game as well as we did. We sort of looked a bit off it. I don't know. It wasn't.
Is the pitch a lot smaller at Craven Cottage than Ed? Is it one of the smallest pitches? Because I don't know if it was the view, but the pitch looks super, super small. Is it one of the smallest pitches in the league?
I don't know actually.
I wouldn't know.
Again, Jack doesn't know.
I don't know. It's obviously a compact stadium, but I don't know whether it's particularly small.
It sounds like a very Thai thing to say, blaming it on the pitch.
Yeah, I know. I'm not to blame.
I'm not blaming it on the pitch. It was a genuine question.
But this is a good point because we spoke. This Square Ball podcast that did a whole 20-minute video on us, and they picked up on a point that I made, saying that it's hard to play at the Amex and sort of play your game at the Amex. They took it as though I was saying that our atmosphere is so intimidating and sort of taking the mick out of the Brighton fans. Yeah. That's not the point I'm making. I'm saying that we like to control and dominate possession, which we do pretty much every game. Fulham obviously have a good way of doing it. They play their game on a God, I got a fly in my face. They do it with sort of a slippery pitch, clearly, but also like to play their game with a bit of intensity as well, and then have that Mitro bully up front. Yeah. And it worked a charm for them, and you could clearly see what their game plan was, and that's what made almost going to Craven Cottage so difficult. You wouldn't associate going to Craven Cottage and being, oh my God, we've got to go to Fulham away. This is going to be tough because there's no atmosphere there, and we're the same here. We can't go and be hypocrites, right? But I think that's almost their counteract on that, and it worked again. And you have a good point in saying it, and it's really quite similar to what I was trying to say last week against Leeds because it's exactly the same point.
Yeah.
So I've just had a little Google whilst you were talking about the square ball there. And Ryan, I think they did 100% misinterpret what you were saying. We weren't calling I don't think you were calling the Amex a bear pit because you'd have to be smoking something absolutely strong to be calling it a bear pit. But the Craven Cottage is 100 by 65 metres. And the Amex is 105 by 68 metres, so it is a bit longer and a bit wider, the Amex, but I don't think that made too much difference. I think it was just one of them nights, like you said, on the back of a tough game against Leeds, to be fair. And then midweek game, wasn't really too rotated, the team, and I just guess Potter really got it wrong, unfortunately, and he held his hands up. It's a shame that we had to just travel to Fulham to watch that. I really hope that this kit, Ryan, you said it before on last week, you really hope that kit's not going to be a curse, but it didn't have the best of starts in the Premier League.
No, it didn't. I was going to say, can I just put a sorry, Jack, do you want to go with something?
Yeah, no, I was going to say about the kit, we can only wear it 5 times all season. So
is that true? Because I remember when it came out, I said that, and everyone was like, "Well, what's the point in an away kit?" Because they were like, "You should wear the home kit as much as possible." But I was like, "But surely you want to wear it."
But we actually can't. We can only wear it against Fulham, Chelsea, Everton, Tottenham.
Well, it worked in our favour.
Yeah, and I can't remember the other team.
Feel like pure shit. Just want the Hyper Turk back.
Somebody else, but there's just we still got it as third kit. So
when we see that,
I hope we start playing that a bit because it may be a bit of luck attached to it. I don't know, but I'm going to put a positive spin on it. I want to talk about Lamptey. I mentioned him briefly, and I've looked through sort of social media and sort of general takes around me both at the Amex away from home as well. People always say that Lamptey's past his best since he had his injury, and he's not got that skill, he's not got that pace, he's not got that sort of ability to take on players. It's actually not true, is it? And I feel like he's almost become quite underrated amongst fans, which is quite weird because, we put him as a star boy when we first signed him. For the first year and a half, he was a star boy. And now he's quite underrated since his injury. He's come back and it's almost like, oh my God, is Lamptey going to be able to? And when he does, it's almost a surprise to some people. And I don't see it as a surprise. No. And I don't know if I'm alone in it in thinking he's almost become underrated.
He looked his normal self, didn't he, last night? They were literally, Donkey probably was just constantly pinging the ball at him. Because there was no other way we were going to break down Fulham. So every time he wanted an attack, they were just spraying the ball to Lamptey. And then unfortunately, obviously he got the better of his markers a few times, but most of the time he was just getting clattered into, and they were trying to handle him that way. But he did look back to his normal self, which is good to see.
Even still, though, but like this normal self thing, he's been good since. I mean, I don't know when we played sort of Chelsea. I can think of a few games last year where he took on players and done Man City at home.
I feel like last night in particular, he was taking on a lot more players than he has done in previous matches when he's come on. I feel like,
and even against Leeds when he came on, he was very good. He beat his man every time. And it seems as though maybe when we signed him, he was such a surprise that you've got this player that's taken on, so we almost expect him to be at that level of Newcastle away, and we get Saint-Maximin subbed after 30 minutes, and then that's what the sort of standard we leave him to. And then when he gets injured and he's not quite that anymore, it's bad. But that's not actually the case at all. He's not been actually bad by any means. He's just not been running the game for 30 minutes. And I don't know if that's a take around Brighton fans that I really picked up on, is that Lamptey's actually become quite underrated. And I think it's about time he gets back in that team, to be honest, because every time I've seen him play this season, and even the back end of last, I think he's been fine to start. And I think it's actually almost harsh that he hasn't.
I wouldn't be surprised if he does start against Leicester. I wouldn't be surprised. But so who do you take out? Because I'm trying to think who was starting on the right.
I think... I don't know. I couldn't pick out an exact player who probably deserves to be dropped, but I wouldn't mind seeing us just go to the flat back five. Not flat back five, but more, putting the two wing backs, pushing up to the high line, to the halfway line, like we did last season, and maybe seeing Estepinian because the games that he has played, he's had to do quite a lot of defending. I wouldn't mind seeing him maybe push forward to that left wing back role. The same with Lamptey on the other side, and we play just a Webster, or a Veltman, Dunk, Webster back three, and then see what happens. But we could do something completely different against Leicester. They're a completely different kettle of fish the way they play, so it'd be interesting to see. Yeah, there's no real pressure they play.
Is there anything else we want to talk about Fulham? I'm just trying to think.
All I was going to say was I thought we were so sloppy passing it around at the back.
Oh yeah, Jesus Christ.
Like that injury time.
Some of it was woeful.
Not to, and like I said, I don't want to be too negative, but the 6 minutes of injury time where we would just, I don't know, when we got that goal kick and Sanchez just put it down on the ground and kicked it straight away to Webster, who then kicked it to someone else and it had to go out for a corner. It was just like, what are we doing? Come on, just stop panicking.
Oh, that reminds me of that extra time of 6 minutes. That must have been like the longest 6 minutes where the opposition haven't had the ball. Like it was just in either corner for ages, and it was one of the most frustrating things I've ever had to watch because one, it was literally in the opposite corner, so we couldn't see what was going on. All we were seeing is Fulham players go down, kick the ball away. Ball boys and fans throwing another ball on the pitch to delay it. Like they were doing everything. I mean, fair play to them because obviously we would probably do the same.
He did add a good 2 minutes onto the 6 minutes.
Did he?
Before he actually blew
the
up.
Fulham fans were actually getting proper on his back. And then Trossard gets absolutely clattered right at the end. You're thinking, here we go, it's our last chance at the free kick. He doesn't give it. The guy went straight through the back of Trossard's legs. Oh, mate, same. I was rattled. There were people around me going, like, I can't wait to get outside, smack a Fulham fan. I was like, I wish I could say it out loud. But I was so... Because we had people in that pocket on the side, didn't we? They were giving it to us so much. I was like, fuck. But I wish we nicked one there.
Yeah, I think that was just uncharacteristically poor. Considering the amount of attacking talent we actually had on the pitch at that time as well. And we're just dicking about with it in the corner. But at the same time, just more in the whole game. I think it's like, as much as we've had a bit of a moan up here, you know, we're how many games in? 5 games in on 10 points.
Yeah, so
if this had been the other way around, if we had lost to Man United and beat Fulham, don't think people would be in a place where they're complaining too much. Because Man United, as much as they look pretty dreadful against us and then against Brentford, They've come into a little bit of form now, so they're not the dreadful team that we thought they were.
Fulham with a form side as well at the moment. I mean,
they're only 2 places behind us. They're 6th in the league.
They've done well this year. I do fully respect Fulham for what they're doing at the moment because they are doing really, really well, and I do give credit. I don't think that we should take that away from them. And I think the thing is for us, you know, we played so poorly, and yes, Fulham played so well, so I wouldn't look at it as anything worse than what it needs to be, which is a bad day. I think that, you know, if it was a case of we had a couple of, you know, say a few players played poorly and the rest of them were all right, I'd be a bit more concerned. Or say Potter was sort of losing his head and putting on silly subs. That didn't happen. So it wasn't like a dramatically bad situation. It was more just like a bad day at the office.
We tried something.
It's going to happen.
We tried something that didn't work, which was the false 9. You know, we tried it. It didn't work. Sometimes that's going to happen. We can't win every game. Like, you know, we aren't Man City. And I think
it just goes to show how much we were relying on Danny Welbeck having that profile up front of his.
But I think the only problem is this game was coming, and with the 100%. World Cup, there are going to be double game weeks. And I think that's the only big worry for the way we play. Obviously, we play some fantastic football, but it's high pressure. We use one strike. The key to the whole way that we play at the moment is a striker who is, you know, he's done well this season, but he is injury prone.
And that's sort of just managing his minutes, I guess.
Yeah, so it's about managing his minutes. And these are going to come up more than once this season. We've got
unless we sign a striker, which hopefully takes us on to the transfers, which probably is going to be the last one of the season. Or would you say before that?
I was going to say before we move straight on to the transfers, because there are a couple of bits to talk about transfers wise. But yes, I agree with the Welbeck point. I also think that I don't know, just the idea that the whole unbeaten thing. We as we've already mentioned, we're 10 games. This is our 10th game, and we've finally been beaten in the Premier League. It's our first loss away in London since November 2020, and that was in Tottenham when Sanchez made, I think, his debut or the game before. I don't know. That was the last time we lost in London, which is crazy to think about. It feels like a lifetime ago. And I think that we need to almost remember that, we are going to lose. That was coming. A loss was coming. I think the fact it was Fulham away, I can live with. I wasn't coming back bitterly disappointed. I think I put it on my Twitter as well. Like, I wasn't walking back to, you know, the station, walking back along Putney Bridge thinking, oh God, I'm so annoyed right now. Like, I wasn't. I was a bit like, it was coming. This was.
I was frustrated at the team and the system we played.
That's but you get over it. You get over it quite quickly when we've been as good as we have been. And I think that we can lead on to transfers now because there's so much potential with this side. And I think that because we have got rid of Neil Maupay, which I do find strange if we don't replace him before tomorrow's deadline, and I hope for our sake that we do, just because otherwise there will be questions asked, throughout the whole season. It's a long,
Tony,
long 9 months.
Please, I know you're listening, Tony. Please just sign Enesu now from Etafe. Just get it done. Sign us a strike. I don't care who. Please, someone. Please.
The one mentioned this morning is, let me just get him up. His name is Musa Barrow from Bologna. Apparently, it's actually a tier 1 source as well. The guy's got like 300k followers. Loan to buy deal. Apparently, in the recent hours, their interest has become concrete in the striker. Another loan to buy. I think that's being talked about with Gilmore as well. We'll get onto that. I don't know too much about him. Jack, I'm sure you probably do. They put in the comments saying, does anyone who watches Serie A know if he's any good? And a Serie A fan actually said, yes, he is really good. And someone else said, yeah, he's really good. Need a player like him in our team. It seems as though a lot of people think he's good. I don't actually know. So, Jack, if you want to take this, do you know if he's any good?
I've had a quick look into him this morning, actually. One of my mates thinks I run the Brighton bubble. I don't run it.
Who does run the Brighton bubble? Mainly because I think it's a great account.
Yeah, no, the
Harry
great
Collins
account,
runs
but mainly because my mate sent me the link, and then within seconds of sending the link, the Brighton bubble tweeted about it. It's not me.
That's so funny.
It's definitely Jack.
It's Jack.
No, I had a quick look into it this morning. He scored 6 goals and 6 assists last season, which isn't amazing. Like I'm not expecting like a 20 goal a season.
Sorry, say that again. Last season he done what?
6 goals and 6 assists. Which isn't amazing, but also at the same time he seems to be in a similar mould to Danny Welbeck. And if you look at the way he plays, I think what the key to that is the 6 assists. Because actually, assist ratings are not that high. When you look at who had the most assists at the end of a season, you're looking at maybe De Bruyne has like 15. But they're not a huge amount. So he can bring players into the game. We need someone to play that Danny Welbeck role where he runs forward and sort of leads the line from the front. He's a similar sort of player to that. It's an interesting one. I think this is when because people obviously there's another striker which is Kouame, which I think is dead in the water now.
Yeah, it's dead now.
I think though didn't Naylor put yesterday that it's still a potential of a loan.
Yeah, still the potential.
I don't know if it's.
But
I don't know if it's going to happen.
I think what the thing is with Kouame, people obviously saw his record and it's not great, but at the same time, it's going to be quite difficult for us to convince a player to come to the club who at the end of the day, and in an ideal situation, won't play a single minute. They'll only be coming in for games like Fulham, which isn't the majority of games. So we need to be quite smart. We aren't going to be able to convince someone, as much as it'd be nice to, I don't think we're going to be able to convince someone who's a Ben Brereton Diaz to come here, because he'll be wanting to go somewhere and be the first choice striker.
Yeah, Southampton, something like that.
Yeah, somewhere like that.
Jack, as much as I agree, I think that we've got a player like Neil Maupay, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, we've got apparently, Dennis Undav is the Neil Maupay sort of type, which I can see. Although I must admit, yesterday he really didn't make a run. I don't even know if he touched the ball when he came on.
Yeah, he did. He hit the post.
He done that dink. That was
sorry, that was like about 45.
Yeah, I know. When
I didn't see that, by the way. Good heavens.
My friends were saying, I can't believe he missed that, and I said I was pretty sure that was offside. So I asked for a picture online, and
he got it.
Jesus Christ, he was miles off.
But my taking of Undav is a clinical-looking striker. I mean, the way he took that chance, although he didn't score, was quite cool. I think that he looks like someone who's clinical. He seems to, as I've mentioned before, get powerful shots off and on target quite regularly, which is quite a rare thing for a striker, as crazy as it sounds. The trouble that I probably have with Undav is he doesn't look like the type that's great off the ball, or even on the ball.
Yeah.
So I think you've got a player that's actually not like Maupay at all, because Maupay is not the most clinical striker, but he's very good on and off the ball. My worry is, honestly, I think that through the whole season long, if we don't get a player that is good on and off the ball, I don't know who this guy is from the Serie A. Maybe he is great.
So but I think he must be good on the ball because he plays like left winger, and then also his second positions are like centre forward, second striker apparently. So I imagine he's got some sort of ability on the ball rather than just a target man.
So the point is really, I mean, realistically, Welbeck's going to potentially miss up to three months a year. Right, in a realistic world, he could miss up to 3 months this year, and then you've got that's I don't know how many games is in 3 months. And then you've got, I don't know, I'd say you'd probably rotate Welbeck a fair bit because of fitness. You'd want to manage his minutes. I'd actually say there's actually a lot more opportunity to play in that side because you'd almost be trying to build the team around the next Danny Welbeck as opposed to the current Danny Welbeck who could be injured at any given minute. If he goes down holding his knee, we're going to be worried because that's it for a good few months. Like we've seen with Lallana. Great player, love him. But, God, it's so frustrating when he goes down.
Yeah, he played so well this season. Like he's been so fantastic this season. So
yeah, and I think that's the scare for me is that selling Mopé. I know that I'm a big Mopé fan, and maybe that is annoying to some fans, but I think it's more about the fact that if we don't bring in, Mopé, let's face it, was great at Brentford. He had a fantastic return from it. He scored like 30 goals a season before we signed him. So he was a high caliber player in his day. If we were looking at a 30-goal striker from the Championship of last season. All our fans would be saying we're deluded, we're crazy. Well, we're not going to be doing that, but we did that, and that was who we had before. And I think that now we're looking at these 6-goal strikers from Serie A. It's a bit like, yeah, maybe he's all right, but we were signing arguably better than him, or we had arguably better than him. We don't know that as a fact yet, but we could have had better than him at the club that we've just let go of. I mean, he has gone to Everton, remember? He hasn't gone to, a rubbish team in the Championship. He's still in the Prem, and he's arguably he is at a bigger club than us. So, yes, they're probably worse than us statistically and tactically, but he has got an actual upgrade on a club move. So it depends on how you really look at it. I don't know. I just think that, fine, we're linked with these players, but I worry that over the whole course of a season, if we haven't got that, we get this Danny Welbeck mould striker, but I just don't think there's enough goals in that side if we're looking at upwards of top 10. Because I think that, you've got too many teams in that top 10 that have these lethal players. I mean, even Leicester, so rubbish at the moment, but they've still got, albeit 35-year-old Vardy, but they've still got a Vardy.
And Kelechi and Acho and the Daka guy as well. They've got those strikers. I mean, maybe they're not performing now, but they do have it in them, which is why they've got big bucks.
That's the thing. It's the calibre, isn't it? And I think we're not going to sign a calibre player because that's not how we roll. But yeah, I just think there is a slight concern there.
I think you're right. It would be nice to bring in someone who is, who can really push him. I'm trying to look at it realistically. Maybe
that's how I'm trying to do it as a well thought out opinion. I'm not trying to be reactionary.
Yeah, no,
and I think that how I've done it is reasonable thinking because people can say, "Oh, Ryan's being an idiot. He just wants a new striker. He thinks he's 14-year-old." But no, I'm thinking a bit properly, and I'm looking over the whole course of a year. Say Welbeck realistically does miss 3 months, and we do have that tricky pick because it's going to come right. At some point, we are going to be off form. We're going to be losing games. We're going to be backs against the wall. And we're going to have the idiots booing and saying stupid things again. And until that point, we settle with a Welbeck who's fine. But then when he does go down holding his knee or holding his leg or holding his thigh or holding his calf, that's the concern for me. I don't know.
And if Graham Potter doesn't really like Dennis Undav, because if you liked to play and thought he was really good, you would have started him yesterday, surely. I mean, I'm not a football manager. So you would have thought that you would play him. If you're not playing a striker and you've got a striker on the bench, then there must be something wrong.
Go on, John. No, I was going to say, I think I read this somewhere else. I wouldn't look too much into that. I think if he really didn't trust him, really didn't like him, he wouldn't have even come on. I think that was flat out that. I think literally what Potter tried to do yesterday was obviously he saw something tactically which might have worked. Maybe he saw the Tim Ream dominant centre back thing and sort of went, right, if I play false nine and we sort of play around him, we can get around him. I think it was just a tactical decision, but I do agree with you. It was a bit odd.
Any other strikers we can talk about? I guess this Moussa Barrow, and also he's number 99 for Bologna, which is a red flag for me.
I think that's Flair. We need players
Jeremy
like
Lynch. That. Yeah, let's get the Gambian Jeremy Lynch in.
I think ultimately, then, to just summarise my whole point I think my worry is that, yes, fine, going for a well-bet mould player. I just think that the only concern is the lack of goal threat when arguably we had a player that's actually better than Undav off the ball and on the ball. We don't know that yet. It's too early to judge, and I can't judge on Undav yet because I haven't seen enough of him. But the early signs suggest he's not the best on and off the ball, and I think that's probably the concern moving forward in the season. Yes, maybe this guy is it, but I don't know if he's going to have the goal return that Mope did. But we'll see.
But then I also like not to be like all I trust everything the club do, but you know, and you know,
an 18-year-old from like Barrow or something.
Yeah, Warren Connolly getting back from Venezia.
Yeah,
I think the way we scout players, we clearly have quite a good mould for what we look for in a player. Because when we were originally going to sign Darwin Núñez, when he went to Benfica, he'd only scored 15 goals in not Serie B, the Segunda division. In Spain, and I was looking like, are we really spending 25 million on a second-tier Spanish striker? That. And then you look at what he's done now. Headbutted Joaquin Anderson's out for free, but that's his impact on the Premier League. But the point is, it's sort of like we clearly have a good mould for looking for players. Even Evan Ferguson, he was scouted by the club, and he's looking very good as well.
Yeah.
So, and he was...
Mate, I messaged Andrea Orlandi at the time, I remember, with Núñez. And I remember specifically. And I said to him, Andrea, I said, I know you're a scout in Spain now. I said, you know anything about this Darwin Núñez guy? Is at Almeria at the minute. Looks all right. I said, but is he really what we need? And he was like, yeah, he's young still. He said he doesn't know if he's going to make the step up to the Premier League. There's no guarantee he can even do it in a top flight in Spain yet. And I just think that's crazy to look back on now in comparison to what he is now. Obviously, you know, he's suspended, but ultimately he's got a big move to Liverpool, which is crazy to even think about.
Could we be looking at his record, and then the club are seeing something else in his stats or in his attributes? And I hope so. Yeah, exactly. But I think there were a couple of strikers which obviously we've been linked with, which I did like the look of, but I think they're all dead in the water as well. Like I think it was Unal from Getafe.
That would have been good. He did look really good from the little highlights reels on YouTube made by like a 15-year-old in GCSE years. I think that they were actually
Brazil scout.
Very promising. Yeah, very promising. I can't lie. Let's move on. Actually,
I was just going to say before we go to Billy Gilmore, and this is probably a pointless chat because it's not going to happen, but. Obviously, Ross Barkley became available because he left Chelsea on mutual consent.
I've seen this.
And I actually got a few. Well, I just say I got a few. Like a lot of people agree with me. To be fair, I think that Graham Potter, if we sign Ross Barkley, maybe as just literally as cover when Alana's injured, so bring him off the bench or whatever.
I really think rotate injuries.
I really think Potter would make Ross Barkley into the player that he was at Everton in his first stint at Everton. I feel like he would get the best. I really do think he would do really well, Brian.
Yeah, I disagree, but I don't agree.
I think we're stacked in that department, though. I don't really see who we take out and bring in. Whether he's not
better than Gross, and he's not better than Lallana, and he's not.
If he came in as like I was going to say, if he came in as like a project where we didn't really have to pay him that much.
I'm seeing him as something that just literally fits into Gross's role or Lallana's role when he plays once a season, like something like that. Because obviously, when Lallana's out, Ross Barkley would be the next person up. That's what.
And then when he's out, then we hopefully get Lallana back.
Ross Barkley won't get injured at all, mate, because we have best medical staff.
I want to tell. I saw as well about have you seen about the Danny Ings stuff? I've heard it. I've heard it again. I don't know how true it is. I keep getting texts from people that say they know insiders, and I don't know how rubbish.
Might be one of those random deadline day ones where we just loan Stephen Hilby.
Apparently, someone told it to me months ago. I don't know how stupid this is. It probably is. And someone said to me that Danny Ings will be the last resort if Brighton can't find a centre forward on a loan deal from Villa. And I mean, it doesn't make complete unreasonable sense.
It's not a bad last resort in my head.
It's not a terrible last resort by any means. Arguably, it's probably better than some of the ones we've been linked with. Particularly Kouame. I didn't really get him, to be fair. I watched him actually for Fiorentina the other night. I just didn't really rate him at all. So when people say, "Oh, you didn't see him live," well, actually, I was watching him live and put a tweet on, so shush. But no, no, Danny Ings on a loan from Villa. I wouldn't be against it, but the trouble is with Ings is injuries again, and we're getting after these injury players, and we seem to be after a lot of loans at the moment, which David Weir was a loans manager, so I can see all of a sudden we've changed our sort of recruitment maybe to maybe more loans, which I'm not a big fan of personally. But
are the loans not loans to buy though that we're starting?
Hopefully.
I mean, obviously there was the Colwill one, which, well, what somebody has told me, I think we're absolutely in the money on that one.
What do you mean?
Well, so I've been. Don't know how true it is. So,
let's get some insiders.
Yeah, someone has told me that we've only had to pay 30 grand for the whole thing.
Eh?
Really?
So that we're not paying his wages, we're not paying.
I guess that's part of the.
Yeah, I've seen that before. I've seen that before.
And we'd have no obligation to play him, so he's basically just a free sort of add-on.
He's just there to help out if you need him.
So I don't know, but that would be good.
I've also seen like a lot of people seem quite. And I don't actually disagree with them too badly. A lot of people seem quite, not certain, but quite confident, quietly confident, or openly confident if you're in a Twitch group chat with me, that we'll keep Colwill past his loan, which, I mean, I wouldn't be overly surprised if he did settle into the team, because I think if he's playing alongside Duncan and Webster, which you know, albeit last night was a complete anomaly. But, I mean, Ben White, before he went to, or even when he went to Arsenal, I think he got asked in England camp, saying, you know, who's the best defender you've played with or against? And he said Lewis Dunk. He said he's just phenomenal to watch and an absolute pleasure to play alongside. If Ben White's saying that, you know, and he's gone on to be very good at Arsenal, despite what all the Big Six fans say about him, he has done really well.
Yeah, he's done well.
I'm really happy for him, genuinely. That he's
even
well
some
there.
Brighton fans are very revisionist on him.
Yeah,
like, you know, he's a good defender. He's worth the 50 million.
Yeah, 100%. And I think Colwill. I mean, he's only young, right? And Colwill's dad followed me on Twitter the other day, which is such a random one. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's here to stay. Maybe his dad's going to ask me where to move, where the nicest place are to move around.
We're running out of time, so I'm just going to quickly get one more player in. Similar to another Chelsea player, funnily enough, Billy Gilmore. Let's quickly do this. Let's do a couple minutes, and then we've got to do the Leicester preview.
Yeah, that's not too long.
Billy Gilmore. Anyway. No. Billy Gilmore's obviously, he had that spell at Norwich, and I think a lot of fans are thinking about that when they think about him playing for Brighton. That's not the Billy Gilmore you've got to think about. You've got to think about the guy that's done unbelievable for Chelsea. There's a reason why Chelsea fans... It's done well at Scotland. There's a reason why all the Chelsea fans love him and prefer him to Conor Gallagher. There's a player in there, and if we got him, albeit on a permanent, which would be brilliant, I'd love it on a permanent, not a loan.
Mate.
I think he would be really good. Like, I guess he would be doing that Alexis McAllister role. I think he'd be more of a deeper player, wouldn't he? And I feel like he would be a super signer for us.
Yeah, I agree. I really, really, really don't understand why a lot of fans don't want him. It baffles me as to why fans don't
Norwich
want him.
were a basket case last season.
Yeah.
They're fans following Brandon Williams back to their houses.
Jesus Christ.
Like, to his house. Like, obviously, it just didn't work that season. So I think that'd be a great signing.
And literally, I spoke to Chris Reeve, shout out Chris Reeve, such a legend. And he said, yes, he wasn't great for us, but then again, Karim Benzema wouldn't even impress at Norwich. So I just don't think that, basing his time at Norwich isn't fair. I mean, this is the same Billy Gilmore that a year ago at the Euros we were worried about to play against, and he put in a good shift for Scotland against England, and he was genuinely very good for Scotland. A lot of people were raving about him. I think Roy Keane even went as far to say he was a world-class talent on Sky Sports after he played against United. So, maybe he isn't a world-class talent, but he's certainly got world-class abilities in him.
And the potential.
For him to go and play against England and play against Declan Rice and Calvin Phillips, but Declan Rice, etc. I mean, he went to show that he can do it, right? And did very well on the big stage. I think he'll be a fantastic sign, especially if we get him for around 10, 15 million. I think that would be a fantastic
The only thing that I think will hold it back is the last thing I was going to say on it, is we have the loan, so he can't be a loan unless there's an obligation to buy.
Can be a loan to buy, yeah.
Obligation to buy, and I can't see Chelsea releasing him. I don't know why I can't.
Well, Jack, I saw this morning that apparently Chelsea... we're becoming more confident over a deal to sign him. I don't know, again, how true that is. But we'll find out by tomorrow. And that's what's quite nice, is that we're not going to be talking about this in a week's time. We're going to sign Gilmore, are we not? I think they've got a lot of links to Sussex anyway, apparently. A lot of their sort of family live in and around Shoreham and even Storrington area, so shout out the Swans. But apparently, there's a lot of links around Gilmore and Sussex anyway, which is quite good for us, because hopefully it's a bit of a temptation to come over here. And it just suits the Potter mould as well. And as we mentioned before, Potter will get the best out of him undoubtedly. Especially a midfielder, he seems to do it every time. But
and then I guess literally the last 30 seconds on this, and then we were kind of linked with that Cifuentes guy, the Ecuadorian from Los Angeles. That seems to have just washed away, and then some guy from the Argentinian league that was dubbed the next Messi. That seems
that's happening, isn't it?
Last night said it's off now.
Oh really?
And Rosario Central will be releasing a statement on the matter within the day, so that could be quite exciting.
So that is So let's summarise. Hopefully we'll bring in a striker. Really beg we do. If we do, you'll see me streaking around Brighton tonight. Or Thursday night, I'll literally get naked and run around Brighton if we sign a striker. So we'll live stream that on Seagulls Social as well. And Brighton Bubble if Jack's okay with that. Last
23.
I don't know. I deleted the thing.
Yeah, he's 23.
So boys, Sunday 2:00 on Sky Sports and at the Amex, it is Leicester. We are facing Leicester. Brendan Rodgers, unless he's in the job centre, he will be at the Amex managing Leicester City. What do we think about that? Because obviously we're playing a team that are out of form and a manager that's really on the ropes. He was expected to be the manager that was going to be sacked first. Scott Parker beat him to it. Ryan, I'll go with you first because I feel like you like talking about Leicester in a good way, positively, because you respect them. What do you reckon? The Gats will be like, you love Jamie Vardy, and you've said in previous podcasts that you like how they run and that sort of thing. So, Ryan, take the floor.
I think they've almost had their system for too long now, and they've got to a point where it's gone a bit stale. And I think they've known they've had to get a Vardy replacement in for years, and they haven't done it. And I think they're now feeling the effects of it. They've known that they've needed to move on from the past, and they haven't. They've stayed in the past. They've stayed in the past for about 3 years, and I think it's been quite clear their decline. If you were to look at them, it's not even gradual, to be honest. It's a bit like Manchester United. They're stuck in the past. They're still in 2016 mentally, and they had about, I think it was 2019. They came back a little bit, were very lethal again, and then they've stuck in 2019 again, and they're still holding on to that. But we're in 2022 now. And they really, really don't look very good at the moment at all. I'd like to hope we can beat them, to be fair. We really should beat them because, we are a lot better than them at the minute. And, despite what last night says, Brighton says we're a good team. Maybe we could have another player in by then. Maybe we could have another couple of players in by then. Hopefully Billy Gilmore and hopefully a striker of some description. And even the other guy, I can't remember his name, the Ecuadorian lad. But if we sign Gilmore, I can't imagine we'll get him, Cifuentes. But hopefully a few new faces in before that. But I don't know. I'd like to hope we go there and win. Come to the Amex and win, because it's just a game that we have to win. I think it's not a must-win. I know Andy Naylor would kill me for saying it's a must-win. But at the same time, it's a game that, for confidence' sake, we don't want
Fulham to be like a stumbling block, really, do we?
No.
And Jack, do you think Leicester will be getting their first win of the season?
It's always written in the stars with us, isn't it?
We do like breaking people's ducks, don't we? Especially with strikers that haven't scored for 100 games.
I always think we're cursed whenever we have a chance to go top of the league, like last night. Whenever we got a chance to go top of the league, we always seem to do something stupid. No, I think Leicester look poor, but they've still got quality in that side. Like as much as they're out of form, players like Harvey Barnes, James Maddison, even Daka and Iheanacho at times are very good players. So it'd be interesting to see. I think they're really down at the moment, though, like down off their luck. You can see them Rodgers really wanted them to play for his job. Whether they want him to keep the job is another question. But I can, they've been poor this season. They've just lost. I don't know whether he's officially gone, but I think they've lost Wes Fofana.
He's pretty much. Yeah. It will be done before Saturday, off. I'm sure.
Another big thing. So it'll be interesting to see what their deadline day is like, because they've yet to sign a player.
Actually. Should be busy, surely.
I'm looking at their defence, and obviously they would want to get a Fofana replacement, because the defence that started against Chelsea, and this is including the keeper that they haven't replaced Kasper Schmeichel, who left for like 1 million to go to Nice. They've still got. I
can't get annoyed at Schmeichel for a year.
They've still got Danny Ward in goal, which is quite strange, I think.
Good keeper though.
Do you reckon?
He's
know.
always been a good understudy. He starts for the Welsh national team.
Right. I wouldn't say he's good.
Right.
And then they got Castang, who I do kind of rate. But against Chelsea, they started Marty at centre back and Johnny Evans at centre back. I guess that maybe Sorensen might not have been fit. He was on the bench and didn't come on. And then you've got James Justin, who I used to love, playing left back even though he's right footed.
Yeah, we gave him an ACL injury.
Yeah, peak. But that defence isn't good. And if we start Welbeck, then and he's played like he has this season, I think Welbeck will have some fun against this defence. And there will be a match-up against his former teammate Johnny Evans as well, which should be quite fun to see. But I think, Welbeck should be looking at that and licking his lips.
Yeah.
You read that team out to me, and it just screams Brighton win to me. And I like to hope that that's the case. As you say, I just think that we're in a situation where if we go and lose against an off-form side against Leicester after a pretty poor showing against Fulham, it's easy for heads to drop and it's easy for fans to start getting annoyed like they seem to do on Twitter and everything. And that's not what you want. And I'm sure Potter doesn't want that either, right? And I fully expect us to have these few days now to recover. Leicester are playing tomorrow night, actually. Which is quite strange considering they play on. No, it's tomorrow night.
Oh, right.
And then they play again on the Sunday, which is quite harsh actually. So maybe we could catch a bit of a tired Leicester or rotated Leicester at that.
Man United at home tomorrow.
Yeah, that's it. United, which is a tough game, right? So I don't know.
That's maybe, a really good point, actually, Rob. We've got 2 days. Well, a day. I guess maybe it's 4. No, 2 days. You would say it's 2 days more rest, wouldn't you, for Sunday before Sunday? Yeah. And like when we played against West Ham, they had a shorter break than we did. So hopefully, we can take advantage of that.
Yeah, maybe. Also, I want to ask a question before we end the pod because I want to know if anyone around sort of what was it P6 we were in. Did anyone have some old security guards stop them and ask them for their ticket? Because this is the most ridiculous thing that I've ever had. I've never been stopped for my ticket before. And if you've met me or know me, you'll know that I'm not exactly the most menacing person. I don't go around jumping barriers and I don't really go around, doing much wrong, to be honest. I want to know, right? I was walking around, right, and this security guard literally corners me and says he wants my ticket and gets right up in my face about it. And, I wasn't going to start a fight over it because, it's just silly. A lot of people were around me saying, oh, he's a podcaster. And to be fair, shout out those guys who was like, he's a podcaster, let him go, sort of tapping me on the back and everything.
That's a great excuse.
That was funny.
Yeah,
that was really good.
Don't arrest him, officer. He's a podcaster.
It did help my cause. But I got stopped in the corner. And I just wanted, because I asked him why, because he said, oh, you got my ticket. Whereas Chloe had it, so I couldn't get it out of my pocket and show her and show him. So I had to get Chloe to get me the ticket. But then he thought I was trying to get away. So I was trying to get Chloe to come to me, but he wouldn't let me move. And then once I finally got my ticket off her, and I showed him, he was like, "Oh, fine, mate." And I was just like, "Can you tell me what all that was about now?" And he sort of gets right up and next to me.
Was he a Brighton steward? Did he have the Brighton Hove Albion?
I don't know. He was an old bloke, and I just didn't understand it.
There were quite a few.
I just want to know if anyone else had it.
So I don't know what it is about me. Last night, I think it was because I was wearing a shirt and tie. But people just seem to think I know what I'm doing. People just sort of let me go places.
I've been to 500 games in the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, I know. Maybe it's because I'm quite a big lad, so I'm 6'2". They just if I walk somewhere, I reckon I could sneak into Glastonbury or something. I literally
go with a ladder over you.
If I just put a high vis on, ladder, lanyard, it's fine. People just seem to know where I'm going. But they were asking people quite intensely because my mate Corey, he had left his in his bag, which he had at his seat. So we were like, oh shit. And I was like, well then I'll probably... And then I was like, oh, well if worst comes to the worst, I'll just go get it for you. But yeah, they were being quite strict on it. I think before the game...
Did they have anyone else then, do you see, Jack, they got stopped like that? Because I didn't see anyone else. I found it quite weird.
I think before the game, a lot of people were in there who maybe shouldn't have been.
Right.
There did seem to be a long queue to get to P6 compared to all the other ones. So I didn't think it was anything.
But they mix it with Fulham fans, don't they? Which I found.
Yeah, I know.
That's so weird.
Because basically, I went with a German a Leverkusen fan who'd bought a ticket in the home end. Who was sitting next to us, and I was trying to explain to him the concept. I said, well, don't go in with us because they think you're an away fan and won't let you get in. And I trying to explain the concept of that Fulham away end to somebody
I didn't understand it. I've never been to Fulham before.
It's been like that for ever since I can remember.
It's been like that since the Championship. Back in first time I went there in.
It's been like that for ages. Like even when they're in the Premier League, I feel like when they're in their heyday, they've always been like that. I'm pretty sure.
But trying to explain the concept.
Gone on a mad tangent. So Leicester fans, if you're listening to this as the clip that we put on YouTube, I'm sorry.
But
we are going to do predictions now before we can go. Jack needs to shoot in a sec. Who wants to go first? Jack, do you
I'll go.
A prediction line up?
I'm going to be really pessimistic here, just because I don't like to predict us to win, because I'm just like that. I always think it jinxes it. So I'm actually going to go 1-1. Maybe a little bit pessimistic. I just think they've got a lot of quality in the team. So I can see us going 1-0 up and maybe them using their quality to get a late equaliser. Yeah. That's not me being negative before anybody says. I just don't like predicting.
No, 100%. I agree totally. Everything you said. I feel like we'll score first, and then I think their attack is still good enough to cause us a bit of trouble. James Maddison might pull a worldly free kick out his arse, and then we'll be 1-1. We won't be able to score another goal. I'm going 1-1. Ryan, what about you?
I think as long as they don't sack Rodgers after United tomorrow night, which is not impossible. No. I think as long as that doesn't happen.
Oh, we always get the manager bounce. Fuck's sake.
Yeah, as long as they don't sack Rodgers and we do play the Brendan Rodgers side, I think we could win 2 or 3-0. I think that we're more than good enough to take them apart. I think that our midfield is more than good enough to dominate theirs. I think our defence is better than theirs. And I think our attack probably isn't better than theirs, but we're much more fluid in transition than they are. So I think that based on everything, based on form, based on the fact that Brendan Rodgers really is up against it there, and it's very, very well documented and known that, or at least rumoured, that Leicester do tend to allow their managers to leave, allow their managers to get sacked. At least there's a big conspiracy over that. They stop playing for their managers quite often. And if that's the case, and Rodgers is still there, I expect us to beat them 2 or 3-0.
Wow.
I'll stick with 2. Because 3 is quite a bold claim, but I'll stick with 2. But I think that it is possible that we could stick a few past them. I just don't think they're great.
Hope so. I really, really hope so.
I don't think they're great.
All right, well, boys, it's been a great episode despite a horrendous evening yesterday. Thank you both for joining us, and thank you for listening and viewing and watching. Subscribe if you have. Though.
It's
been a good pod.
It's been a good pod.
I'm back.
Great to have you back,
Jack. All the people who come up to me at games. God, this sounds arrogant. And
no.
When you're going back on. But, I like to keep the crowd wanting more.
And on Twitter.
Exactly.
You don't want to give them too much.
You're the people's champion, mate. You're the people's champ.
Exactly.
This. What a legend.
Oh, that's nice, isn't it?
Love that.
Boys.
Very cute.
Very cute. And on that wholesome note, yes. Please like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Write a review on Spotify and Apple if you're listening on there. Nice one. Give us 5 stars, or just literally put 5 stars and put a full stop in the description just to add it. Jack, again, thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoy your day off work today. Ryan, thank you very much for joining us as per usual.
No problem.
And we will see you post Leicester, hopefully with 3 points on the board and potentially back in the Champions League. And Ross Barkley, and oh my God, hopefully with a striker.
We're still in the Champions League.
No, I know, but if the teams below us obviously get a result.
Nobody below us can overtake us tonight.
Really?
Yeah. So we're still fourth, no matter what happens.
We're still fourth, no matter what. Love that. Okay. Oh yeah, comment below quickly. Comment below what?
Oh, comment below.
Jack is back. Jack is back. Exclamation mark. Jack is back. Jack is back. Exclamation mark. All right, cool.
Let's go.
Peace.